Generations have wondered who were these seekers? Who were these pilgrims of hope? There is a sense that they had come from the east, certainly not from Israel. Pagans of another religion, most probably those astrologers who studied the sky and the stars, looking for signs, interpreting that. And people who were seeking deeper meaning spot a star unlike any star they had ever seen. It must have been magnificent. It must have been so moving that they would abandon their own nation, pack up, and this was not just three guys riding camels. This had to have been a caravan of people carrying rich treasures a long distance, but seeking something different. This was a cosmic moment for them. They knew they were going to see something unheard of. And so they go, and they follow that star to Jerusalem, expecting to find the newborn King of the Jews. Interesting that people who knew nothing about the coming of the Messiah were intrigued and going to such lengths to see him. And yet the ones at the temple who had longed for the coming of the Messiah for 1,000 years, at the thought that the Messiah may have come, Matthew says they were troubled, deeply troubled. Herod, of course, who had spent 30 years accumulating his power, wanted nothing to do with a rival king. But what about the scribes, those chief priests, people who were the heart and center of religion? What in the world was wrong with them that when it was possible that the Messiah had come, wanted nothing to do with it? They knew enough of Scripture to say, Bethlehem of Judea. Herod, of course, sends them there, again, guided by the star. The prophet Isaiah, in the first reading today, said, all these nations will come streaming toward Jerusalem. Maybe Isaiah missed it by a few miles. It wasn't in Jerusalem. It wasn't at the temple. It wasn't in the seat of power that God would reveal himself, but in some backwater village called Bethlehem. I remember talking about this in Advent when we had a similar passage about Bethlehem. It's like, this was a know-nothing town. Nobody wanted to be in Bethlehem except shepherds tending flocks. And yet, God surprises them, God surprises us by being in places where we may not be looking and may not expect to find the face of God. We can think of ourselves as another caravan of seekers. Those of us who are here in this church today, we're part of this entourage of people who are also seeking what's deep and important and meaningful. We do find here in the church, in the sacramental life of the church, a familiarity with God, a touch of Christ in each other and in the Eucharist. But we also need to pay attention to our scriptures that tell us, you'll see me when you give me a drink of water, when you give me food, when you welcome me as a stranger, when you visit me when I'm sick and help clothe me, then you will see me. It's possible that the revelation of God's presence in our world, while we might touch some of it inside the church here, we might find it more on Republic Street, Bethlehem, out there, among those who are poor, with no housing, with all of their difficulties and struggles. At least that's what Matthew says at the end of his gospel. You want to see me. Don't just look for me in that communion host. Look for me. You'll find me in those who are broken, in those who need, those who feel left out. And that's just not poor people on the streets. That could be members of your family. That could be anybody. But somehow it's revealed to us that if we are going to touch the mystery of God, if we're going to in any way see the face of Christ, it's most likely going to be not just here. It's not just at St. Peter in Chains Cathedral. It's not just St. Peter's in Rome. In fact, Pope Francis has said to the church, get out of the sacristy and into the streets. It's one of the clearest things he said to priests and bishops. Get out of the sacristy and into the streets. I think Francis knows that's where we're going to meet Christ as much as we will here inside the church. The Feast of Epiphany was a surprise to everybody. Welcomed by those who were seeking. Those sitting in the places of power weren't looking. They weren't seeking. They had their little world all put together, and the idea of that getting shaken up was too much for them, deeply troubled by the thought that the Christ may have been born. It's people who are on the edges, people who are willing to seek, who are in this caravan of searching people. We have the opportunity, perhaps, to meet Christ there. Maybe even more so than we are going to know him in his sacramental presence here in the church. It wasn't Jerusalem. Bethlehem. It might not be Main Street. It might be Republic Street or the alley crossing over Republic Street. It's there that the Christ might be visible to us. I find it hard to see the Christ there, honestly. It's not easy. But Scripture says that's probably how you're going to meet me. So we join together today, people who, as Paul said, are privileged now to have the veil lifted. The mystery is revealed that all people, not just something for the Jews, but all people, Gentiles, are part of the body. And that means all people. The people we distance ourselves from, the people we can't understand their language, can't understand their lifestyle, all people are called to be part of the one body. So may we be perhaps energized this Epiphany to be alert, seekers of truth, seekers of the mystery, and perhaps it will be revealed to us where the eyes of Christ are looking at us. We continue that Christmas journey as we continue our prayer here this morning.